Well, sometime last year, must have been around Easter. Um, if you don't know, I have been working from home, which has been such a great, blessing. I've been able to just focus on my work and not have an interruption. So I love that. Um, and I know it was during my work day, and I got up from what I was doing to get something that I had in my bedroom. And I remember walking to the bedroom. I was alone in the house at that moment. And I walk in, I grab whatever I needed, but at the same time, I dropped a necklace on the floor. I could hear the phone ringing from my computer. So I went back to go answer it. So I left the necklace on the floor, walked away. No big deal. About an hour later, when I remembered, oh, I dropped something, let me go pick it up, I went back into my bedroom. And upon doing that, I see the necklace, and as I reach for it, two fingers. It looked like the fingers from the Crypt Keeper pop out from the bottom of my closet door and pull the necklace into the closet. My initial thought was, oh my gosh, maybe it's an animal. I know what I saw, so I wasn't imagining it, but I was trying to make sense of everything. And I opened the closet door, and the necklace was there. But I didn't see any signs of any animal or anything like that. All it did was left me very spooked. So I remember grabbing the necklace and, just putting it back where I had it and walked out of my bedroom, and I said, I'm not going to go back and look at it. That weekend, I know it was like towards a Thursday or Friday kind of because I know for several days after that, my pug, as I've mentioned, I have a pug, she didn't want to go into my bedroom. She didn't want to get in my closet. And I'm getting this weird vibe, just a very creepy vibe from the closet. So I blocked the closet door. I mean, not completely, things can be moved easily, but I did block the closet door because I didn't want to see something else. Now, has it happened where I've seen other stuff? Yeah, I've seen other stuff around the house. Things have been moved. Things have, tossed around. It's just stuff that you really can't explain. But what really creeped me out was those two fingers. And I kid you not, it looked like decrepit fingers, like, something off the Crypt Keeper. The Crypt Keeper. So I just thought, well, no big deal, right? But, you have to wonder sometimes, is a person haunted? Is there something more than that? During that time, I enjoy, one of my pastimes is just watching Ghost Adventures, in the middle of the night. Why? I don't know. I like the drama that they bring into the show. I don't believe everything I see on the show, but the show's pretty fun to watch as entertainment. So from what I've seen on that show, from what I've just read and stuff like that, I mean, a person could be haunted, and it's not necessarily a building, a place. It could be a person. And from what I have read is that sometimes, a haunting, and it's not necessarily a haunting by a ghost, but sometimes, a presence is attached. And by a presence, I mean sometimes it's, a demon or an entity, and that it passes down from person to person. Take example the Bell Witch, right? So this week we're going to get into talking, sharing a few stories of demonic possession. Coffee and Calacas is a weekly podcast where we sit around the coffee table and discuss stories of the supernatural, stories of mysticism, and what else is in the beyond. So if this is something that interests you, then stick around and enjoy this week's show. Alright, so demonic possessions. Like I said, sometimes people are haunted, and it's not necessarily a ghost that haunts you. Sometimes they're haunted by other entities, sometimes demons. I remember years ago, my grandmother and my mom recounted a story to me years ago about a possession that they actually witnessed. Okay. And I have a big theory about this, and if you ever want, let's meet up at, one of the coffee shops and we'll get into it together and we'll talk about it. I was telling my other host about it the other day, and he was just, okay. He's more of a skeptic than I am, but that's okay. We don't all have to believe the same way, right? Well, anyway, because of that, I started thinking about, well, why is it that all of a sudden when I'm alone or when something spooky things would happen, fingers come out of the closet door, hearing noises, hearing whispers, just things all together. It's a little spooky. So I started looking into possessions and stuff. Not that I'm possessed, and not that I think anyone is possessed, but it's interesting to know how they work, right? So if you haven't seen The Exorcist, I know a lot of people are afraid of the movie. I had a coworker who was afraid of the movie, and I played it once during my lunch hour because I was bored, and she wasn't there, okay? And she walks in while I'm watching the movie, and she freaks out. And I turned off the movie as soon as she walked in. But not everyone is comfortable with that. It's a scary subject. So I started looking into it, and I came across a story, and not really a story. It's like I saw some video, I saw an actual article and stuff, and it's from this psychiatrist. And he is what you would call world renowned. He is sought after by other priests and stuff who do perform exorcisms, and the exorcist itself, they come looking for him because of how good he is, because he's a skeptic at first. He always puts science first, but because he's also Catholic, and he has some level of belief, right? So he recounts one story of a woman who was just upset, and she was levitating, and they said if they didn't hold her down, she would like hit the ceiling and stuff by how much she would levitate. And that he was there, and he believed it, that she was possessed. But then he recounts another story. And this one was probably the one that stuck out to me because it was creepy. So he says that the night before he meets this new patient slash client, I guess. I'm not sure what I don't remember what word he used, but I think he just used the word woman. He refers to her as Julia. So the night before he meets her, he's in his room with his wife at 3 a.m, and they have 2 cats, and all of a sudden the cats just start acting berserk. They're fighting with each other. They're just, at each other's throats and just knocking stuff over. And so they had to separate the 2 cats, put them in 2 different rooms in order for them to actually be able to sleep. The next morning, he meets with a priest, and he meets with the young woman, Julia. And upon meeting them, the girl, first thing she says is, "Hey, Father, how'd you like them cats?" And he was like, "What the hell?" Now, it's creepy. Let's just be honest, So he goes on that she would have like these demonic voices come out of her, and she would start saying stuff that people shouldn't have known or wouldn't have known unless you told someone else, right? Like the thing about the cats, no one knew about it because it was just between him and his wife, and it was in the middle of the night, and the next morning, she asked about the cats. So he says that, she was a Satanist. She was where she considered herself a high priestess in a satanic cult. Not to say that Satanists are cult members and stuff, but that's how he described her. Okay. So he said that he met with her, and she would say that, yeah, she would get worship. She would worship, certain demons and stuff. But now the demons were possessed her. Okay. So he's talking to her, and gets to know gets the feel for her. And one day he's talking to the priest. I'm not sure how far, since after meeting her, this incident takes place, but he's talking to the priest that brought him into this case, and they're on the phone, and all of a sudden a demonic voice interjects with, "She's ours." Okay. So he pauses and he's like, "Did you hear that?" And the priest is like, "Yeah, even through phones, a demon can apparently, interrupt." So they were on a landline. He says that it wasn't a cell phone, it was a landline. They weren't on a Zoom call, it wasn't a conference call, it was just a regular phone call between him and the priest. And they were thousands of miles away from where this girl was at. Ultimately, he says yes, that she was a 1 in a million type of case, that she is what you would call a true demonic possession. Not gonna lie, when I heard that, it gave me the goosebumps. Just think, wow, like that's real, It's always been something that, gives me the heebie-jeebies. I enjoy watching The Exorcist, I do. It's such a, in its own way, it's just so different from other horror movies. Now that genre has kind of popped up and stuff, and it's not necessarily unique, but in that time when it first came out, it was very unique and it was very different, and for a lot of people it felt very real. So I can see why a lot of people are scared of that. And when I heard his story, it impacted me. I thought, wow, this man has seen some stuff, and he has some books out. I actually downloaded one of his books to read. Haven't finished reading it yet. But it's interesting, the stories he details in there. Like he says, he changes the name for privacy, of course, as any good person should do. But he says that, what he recounts, he had just had permission from the people involved to tell a story, and that they kind of encourage him to tell it, so that way they know that other people can find out that, yeah, this stuff is real. In the first story that he mentions, he talks about that young lady a young lady who was married with her husband, devout Christians, devout followers of their faith and stuff, but yet she became possessed. And when asked why, his thing was, she just had such a strong belief in God that they came after her, and it scares you. It scared me. And I looked into it, see how many stories, are out there. And if you look, you will find so many stories of people who recount being possessed. I found one story of a young girl and her 2 cousins. I believe the girl was about 23. Her brother was maybe, because it was her brother, the girl, the 23-year-old, her brother who was 19, and then her cousin who was 18, okay? And they're playing with the Ouija board. Now, according to the article I read, they became possessed. All 3 of them became possessed by a demon or demons after playing with the Ouija board. I don't know how true the Ouija board is to communicate with, demons or entities or ghosts or whatnot, because it comes from Hasbro, right? I don't know. I just feel like that's a lie. Like, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. But according to what I've read, yeah, it's true. You can contact the other side, and according to this article, this girl contacted the other side, and whatever reached out and grabbed the three of them, and they became possessed. And there's a short, like, little snippet video of the girl laughing, and she's just out of it. And as she's laughing, she looks over to the camera, because I think they stick a cell phone in her face, sort of, and as they stick it in her face, she looks at it and she laughs, and she says something like, I'm gonna die, or we're all gonna die. I didn't understand, if she said I'm gonna die or we're all gonna die, but she says something, okay? And it's in Spanish, because this happened in Mexico, in a small little town in Mexico. So they called in a priest, the family of the girl and the kids. They call in a priest, and the priest comes in, and he calls in two American exorcists, and they come in, and they're coming in to help the priest out. And yeah, they can say yes, she is, or they something is wrong with them. According to medical records, they were medically healthy, nothing was wrong with them, but they were just acting odd, strange, just not themselves. So according to the priest, he refused to perform an exorcism on them because the girl and her brother and her cousin were not regular churchgoers. So he says there's no point in me doing an exorcism, because if you don't go to church, then it's not going to stick with you. So he didn't do it, and according to the article, the two American exorcists said that he was right not to perform the exorcism, that it probably would have caused more harm than good, because it gives them they to an extent, they don't know if it really isn't a mental health problem. Now, what I do enjoy not necessarily enjoy is the wrong word. What I appreciate is that it's not so much, you're acting crazy, we're just going to do an exorcism on you because clearly you're possessed. They really look into it to make sure that you don't have a mental health disorder before, because they do believe, treat mental health first. Don't just put everything on religion, and it's, we got to banish the demons out of you. No, it's okay. You might have something else like schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder, and those things are real and have to be treated. And you can't just say someone's possessed because they have more than one personality. It's just, you can't. So I do appreciate that the the church, as well as psychiatrists and the exorcists, take that into account before performing this ritual. And they say that yes, they do perform rituals and stuff, but there has to be proof. All the other boxes have to be checked off and show that everything is met. You're healthy everywhere else, but this is still happening, and that's when they do it. So that's something cool to hear. So back to the story my grandma told me. Years ago, but this happened like maybe in 76, 77. I know my mom said she was about a junior in high school, and she said that there was a girl in the school. I guess she was someone that went to church with her, and a lot of people knew the family and stuff, and it was a troubled family. Apparently the girl's brother had been arrested previously on something, and after being arrested, I believe he was in the jail cell, and he attempted suicide. He was pronounced legally dead. He was taken to the hospital and was, I guess they're going to, do an autopsy. I don't know what they do. And while he was in the morgue and they were about to check him and stuff, he popped back to life. And he was like, oh, hey guys, I'm still alive. Here I am. I believe that he eventually did end up going to jail, and he did end up killing himself in jail. But So they already had a troubled family. It was a troubled family as to begin with, and the girl that this story belongs to, I am not going to mention her name. First of all, I don't remember her name. But you know, we'll give her an alias though. We'll call her Casey. I don't think I know any Caseys. So Casey is possessed, and she's a member of the church, and they do have some nuns come in, they have a priest come in, they have the whole shebang. And apparently she would levitate, okay, where they would pass brooms to the bottom of her, you know, to show that, yeah, like, this girl was actually, like, off the bed, off, you know, whatever, and she was floating in the air. So she would speak in tongues, and it was real. So from what I understood, as you're performing this exorcism, they had members of the church pray for the girl. I'm not sure if it was in the same household or if they were at church or stuff, but they were praying for her to, you know, heal her. Everyone knew about it, you know, en esos tiempos, pues, I mean, no que el chisme corre, pero it kind of does, and everyone knew, pues, you know, la Casey está con sus demonios and stuff, and I don't know who possessed her. I mean, that's information I need to investigate, and it might come up in a later episode. But yeah, something had possessed her, some demon possessed her, and, you know, she was speaking in tongues, levitating, and church comes in, you know, they perform an exorcism on her, and after that, you know, she was okay. And then their house burned down. And I don't laugh because it's just circumstances. Like, when it rains, it pours. And I understand that. I'm going through some stuff right now myself. And, you know, when it rains, it really does pour. So, yeah, you know, she gets possessed. First, her brother gets arrested, commits suicide, comes back from the dead, then gets, you know, sent back to jail, then actually dies. She gets possessed, and then their house burns down. And I wonder, could this be that the family is haunted, or they're being attacked spiritually by this, by a demon, you know, and it's just after them, and it's after them because they're so vulnerable. They're vulnerable because they're poor. They're vulnerable because they have some traumas, and you have to ask yourself, where is this possession coming from? And I remember the story, and I just thought, wow, that's so, that's amazing. It's scary that someone that my mom and grandmother actually knew had been possessed. But that's what I'm saying. You know, it's not that, you know, far distant from you. It's just around the corner. You know, these things happen. And, you know, as researching this episode, I thought about that book, My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Good book. You have to read it. And it gives you that vibe, you know, that things like this happen, you know. It's not necessarily, oh, I'm looking for it. Sometimes your vulnerability leaves you open to that. And I want to know, what do you think? What do you think of these stories? I know they're kind of short. I might just need a little bit more detailed in the future. But I want to know, what do you think? Do you believe in possession? Do you believe that demons are real and they can attack you? That they can attack you for more than just once, that they can continue attacking you throughout, you know, your family history? Let me know down in the comments. Send me an email if you'd like. Visit galacaspod.com. We have links to all our social media accounts there. Thank you to our followers on Instagram. We have several new followers on there, and I really appreciate, you know, you guys following us there. I do post things more often there than I do on any other website, but I appreciate it. Continue to like and subscribe. It helps grow this channel, and I appreciate all of you. Have a happy Easter. Coffee and Galacas is a weekly podcast where we share stories of the supernatural, discuss mysticism, and explore the beyond. If this is something that interests you, then stay tuned to all our episodes. Follow Coffee and Galacas on social media. You can visit our webpage at galactuspod.com, where we have links to all our social media accounts on there. Like and subscribe to stay tuned for all our latest content. Remember, life begins after coffee.